People like to say you only discover who someone truly is when things fall apart. I used to think that was something people told themselves to make heartbreak easier to swallow, a clean sentence to explain messy pain. I believed I knew my wife, believed 5 years of marriage meant something solid, believed supporting her dreams, standing behind her, paying the bills while she climbed, counted as love. But on a humid Thursday night, under soft lights and polished glass, when she handed me a drink and watched my face with careful attention, I realized I had been sharing a bed with a stranger. Not just a stranger, someone who wanted me publicly humiliated and quietly removed from her life. My name is Ethan Rowe, and for most of my adult life, I believed in two things that never failed me: honest work, honest commitment. I've been an electrician since I was 18. I wake before sunrise, wrap my tools in an old canvas bag that smells like metal and dust, and head out to whichever job site needs someone who doesn't rush or cheat the work. My hands are rough from 22 years of pulling wire, climbing ladders, crawling through attics no one ever sees. I'm the guy who stays late when something goes wrong, the guy who fixes problems other people pretend don't exist. I've never been ashamed of that. I was proud of it. I married Naomi Bell when she was 26 and I was 28. No ballroom, no photographers, just family, mismatched chairs, and a backyard ceremony at her uncle's house. Naomi was working part-time at a small clothing store back then, talking about bigger plans, marketing, consulting, corporate strategy, words that sounded impressive but distant. I was already established in my trade, making steady money. We agreed she'd take her time figuring things out. For 4 years, that's exactly how life went. Those years were good, simple. Naomi kept our modest home running. We talked about kids someday, cooked dinner together most nights, watched old movies curled up on the couch, weekend walks, grocery shopping hand in hand. She asked about my day and actually listened. I thought we were happy. Looking back, maybe I was just content, and content can look a lot like happiness if you don't question it. Everything changed the moment she got hired by Silverline Group, a high-profile consulting firm downtown. The salary was more than double what she'd ever earned. Bonuses, benefits, access to a world she had always imagined herself belonging to. When she showed me the offer letter, her excitement filled the room. Her hands shook, her eyes shone. I told her to take it without hesitation, told her I was proud. I meant it. The first few weeks were almost fun. She came home buzzing with stories. New colleagues, meetings, inside jokes I didn't understand. She bought new clothes, tailored jackets, pencil skirts, heels that clicked sharply against our floors like punctuation marks. I listened. I smiled. I encouraged her. I thought this was what partnership looked like. By the third month, the tone shifted. It started with comments so small they felt petty to confront. "You're wearing those boots again," she asked one evening, wrinkling her nose as I stepped inside. Another time, when I leaned in to kiss her, she turned her head slightly. "Can you shower first? You smell like work." I laughed it off, told myself she was under pressure. New environment, new expectations, it would pass. It didn't. Naomi stopped asking about my day. She stopped sitting down to eat with me. She poured herself expensive wine now, not the kind we used to share, and stared at her phone while I sat across from her. When I reached for her, she stiffened like my touch annoyed her. "Not now," she'd say. "I'm exhausted." Then came the things I wasn't invited to. Team dinners, office happy hours, networking events, company celebrations. I didn't even know they existed until she casually mentioned them afterward. When I finally asked why I never came along, she didn't hesitate. "You wouldn't really fit in," she said, flat and direct. "These people are corporate, you work with wires." The words landed heavier than she probably intended, or maybe exactly as she intended. Years of skilled labor reduced to a sentence. I swallowed it, told myself she was just finding her footing, that she'd come back to herself once the novelty wore off. Late at night, lying beside her while she smiled at her phone, I felt something inside my chest loosen. That smile used to be for me. I didn't know then that she'd already decided I was temporary. She was just waiting for the right moment to cut me loose. That moment arrived disguised as an invitation. On a Tuesday evening, Naomi came home with an energy I hadn't seen in almost a year. She set her designer handbag down carefully, like it mattered where it rested. "There's a company party this weekend," she said brightly. "Rooftop venue, big annual thing, I want you to come." It was the first time she'd invited me to anything work-related in 9 months. Every instinct I had, built over decades of working dangerous jobs, told me something was off. Still, I agreed. Over the next few days, I watched her more closely than I ever had. She was constantly on her phone, smiling at messages she hid the second I walked into the room. At night, she turned away from me in bed, her body stiff and closed off. On Thursday, while she typed on her laptop, I casually asked if I should bring anything to the party. "Wine, maybe." "Just yourself," she replied without looking up, then added almost casually, "and don't drink too much. I want you to make a good impression." That sentence stuck. In 5 years of marriage, she'd never once worried about my drinking. I'm the kind of guy who nurses one beer and drives home sober. She knew that. Friday arrived with the weight of a court date. I put on the best clothes I owned: clean jeans, a pressed navy shirt, polished work boots, still boots, just cleaner. I caught my reflection and saw exactly what I was: a working man stepping into a world that didn't want him. Naomi came out of the bedroom looking flawless. Black dress, perfect makeup. When she looked at me for just a fraction of a second, I saw something cold pass through her eyes. Not affection, calculation. "Ready?" she asked. "Ready," I answered. As we drove downtown, she talked nonstop. Who would be there? How impressive the venue was. How important this night was. I barely listened. Every alarm bell in my head was screaming. Something was wrong. And when the elevator doors opened onto the rooftop, and the sound of music and laughter spilled out, I knew one thing with certainty. I didn't belong there. But somehow, I was exactly where I needed to be. The rooftop looked like money made visible. Glass railings wrapped around the edge. "He's an electrician." The way she said it made my name sound like a footnote, like an explanation she was required to give. The men nodded politely. One woman smiled without warmth. They shook my hand briefly, eyes already drifting elsewhere, then returned to their conversation as if I'd evaporated. It happened again and again. Every introduction was the same tone, same subtle distance, same unspoken message. I stood there with my calloused hands, suddenly aware of how rough they looked wrapped around a glass instead of a tool. Naomi floated away from me between groups, laughing too loudly, touching arms, leaning close to people who mattered more than I did. Eventually, I stopped trying to follow. I settled near the bar and ordered a soda. Watched, observed. Years on job sites teach you how to read rooms, who's nervous, who's pretending, who's watching someone else a little too closely. Naomi kept checking her phone, adjusting the necklace at her throat, glancing toward the elevator doors like she was waiting for someone. That nervous habit was familiar. She did it whenever she was lying. About 40 minutes in, she approached me holding 2 glasses of red wine. "Here," she said, pressing one into my hand with unusual insistence. "Loosen up a little." Her eyes didn't leave my face. Something about the moment felt wrong. Not dramatic, not obvious, just off. The way her smile didn't reach her eyes, the way she watched my mouth instead of meeting my gaze. I lifted the glass, letting it hover near my lips. The wine smelled rich, expensive, complex. I pretended to take a sip, barely wetting my mouth. Naomi's shoulders relaxed slightly. When she turned away to greet someone behind her, I poured the entire glass into a large decorative plant beside the railing. Dark liquid disappeared into the soil. I set the empty glass on a side table, covered it with a cocktail, spoke briefly with a woman from human resources who asked smart questions and actually listened. But my attention never left Naomi. She moved with purpose now, more focused, less playful. She checked her phone again, then leaned in close to a tall man with slick hair and a tailored suit. I recognized him immediately from her stories. Lucas Hartman, her department head. I watched his hands settle on the small of her back. Too familiar, too comfortable, she didn't move away. A few minutes later, they disappeared through the glass doors leading back into the building. I waited. 5 minutes, then 10. I excused myself from a conversation and slipped inside. The hallway beyond the rooftop was quiet, dimly lit, lined with glass offices. My footsteps were silent on the carpet. Construction work teaches you how to move without being heard, how to listen. Voices drifted from an office halfway down the corridor. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Naomi's voice cut through first. "Did you see him drink it?" My blood went cold. "I saw the glass empty," Lucas replied. "He must have." "Good," she said. "Give it a little time, he'll get confused, maybe pass out somewhere, then we can do whatever we want." The words hit me like blunt force. She laughed, not the laugh I knew, not soft, not warm, this one was sharp, cruel. "He's so embarrassing," she said. "I can't believe I married someone like that, a trades guy, it's humiliating." Lucas chuckled. "Once he's gone, we don't have to hide anymore." "Exactly," Naomi replied. "Tonight is just the start. Once he's out of the picture, I'll file, say he got aggressive, drunk. No one's going to believe him over me. You'll back me up." "Of course," Lucas said easily. "I'll say I saw everything." My hand tightened around my phone. The recording timer kept counting. Every word, every laugh, every detail. I could have kicked the door in, could have shattered the glass and dragged him out by his collar, could have screamed until the entire floor heard the truth. I didn't. I stepped back into the shadows. Work taught me something else besides patience. It taught me that rushing makes mistakes, and mistakes get people hurt. I returned to the rooftop calmly, retrieved the glass I'd hidden, wrapped it carefully in napkins and slid it into my jacket pocket. Evidence. Then I went back to the bar and ordered ginger ale. 20 minutes later, Naomi and Lucas returned separately. She scanned the crowd and spotted me sitting near the railing. Her expression shifted instantly. "Ethan," she said, rushing over, "are you okay? You look tired." I looked up at her, this woman I had loved, trusted, defended. "I'm fine," I said evenly, "just enjoying the view." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You sure you didn't drink too much?" she asked. "You had that wine earlier." "Just the one you gave me," I said, standing and stretching. "Actually, I'm feeling great." For the first time that night, she looked unsure. "I think I'm going to head out," I added. "Long week." "What?" she said quickly. "Already?" "You stay," I replied. "Enjoy the party, I'll get a ride." She opened her mouth to argue. I leaned in, kissed her cheek and whispered, "Have fun." She flinched. I walked away, leaving her standing there, staring after me, trying to understand why her plan hadn't worked. She didn't know yet that it already had. Just not the way she intended. I didn't go home after I left the party. I drove with my hands steady on the wheel, city lights streaking past the windshield while my mind stayed perfectly clear. Adrenaline does that. It sharpens things. Focus replaces emotion. Fear gets pushed aside and replaced with planning. There was only one person I trusted with something like this. Her name was Elena Price. She represented my older brother during a brutal custody dispute years earlier and dismantled the opposing side so thoroughly that the case became a cautionary tale. Elena didn't bluff. She didn't posture. She won quietly and permanently. It was just after 9:30 p.m. when I pulled into her office parking lot. Her lights were still on. I called from the car. She answered on the second ring. "Come upstairs," she said after I explained who I was, "and don't hang up that recording." Alina listened to the audio twice. The first time without interruption. The second time with her eyes closed, jaw tightening slightly at certain moments. When it ended, she removed her glasses and set them down carefully. "This is criminal conspiracy," she said flatly. "Attempted drugging. Intent to fabricate abuse claims. If the drink contains anything illegal, this becomes felony territory." I pulled the wrapped wine glass from my jacket and placed it on her desk. "I need it tested," I said. She nodded. "I know a private lab, 48 hours. Then she looked at me closely. "They're going to move against you fast. She'll file first, make allegations, try to control the narrative." "Then we move faster," I replied. Alina smiled once, briefly. "Good answer." She worked while I sat there. Emergency filings. Divorce papers citing adultery, conspiracy, emotional abuse. She contacted law enforcement before midnight. By the time I left her office, everything was in motion. My next stop was home. I called a 24-hour locksmith from the driveway. He arrived just after 12:30 a.m. Every lock was changed. Front door, back door, garage. I paid him in cash and locked the house from the inside. Then I started packing. Not gently, not angrily, efficiently. Her clothes went into heavy trash bags. Shoes, makeup, jewelry, documents, laptop. Everything that belonged to Naomi was stacked neatly by the front gate. No drama, no destruction, just removal. My phone buzzed. "Where are you?" I ignored it. Another message followed. "Ethan, are you home?" I silenced the phone and kept working. At around 2 a.m., headlights washed across the living room wall. Naomi's car. Her voice followed shortly after, muffled by the door. "Ethan," she called, "open up." I sat on the couch and drank water. She knocked harder. "What is going on?" I didn't answer. Her tone shifted. "Please, we need to talk." Silence. Then desperation crept in. Apologies, confusion, promises to explain. She still thought this was about distance, about resentment. She had no idea what I knew. Around 3 a.m. she gave up. I watched through the curtains as she loaded the bags into her car, crying, mascara streaked, hands shaking. She tried the key once more. It didn't work. Then she drove away. I slept better than I had in months. The next morning, Alina called. The lab had the glass. Police interviews were scheduled. Divorce papers were filed. By Monday, detectives sat across from me, listening to the recording with blank expressions. When it ended, one of them nodded slowly. "This is serious," he said. "If the lab confirms controlled substances, arrests will follow." Wednesday morning, my phone rang early. "Mr. Rowe," the detective said, "the lab results are back." The substance was a sedative, high concentration, enough to incapacitate someone quickly. Arrest warrants were issued that afternoon. I didn't feel victorious, I felt hollow. News alerts exploded before evening. Senior consultant arrested in alleged drugging plot. Lucas Hartman's mugshot stared back at me. No confidence left, no polish. An hour later, another headline. Employee charged alongside supervisor in conspiracy case. Naomi's photo followed. Makeup gone, eyes furious and afraid. Silverline Group released a statement within hours. Cooperation, administrative leave, internal investigation. By the next day, both of them were terminated. The story spread fast, too fast to control. Blogs, local news, social feeds, corporate scandal sells itself. Their lawyers pushed for plea deals. Reduced charges, probation, permanent records. Alina explained it calmly. No prison, but no clean future either. That was enough. Naomi tried contacting me constantly, messages shifting from rage to pleading to denial. I blocked her number. Lucas sent one email accusing me of ruining his life. I deleted it. 6 weeks later, they pled guilty. Sentencing came and went without me. Probation, counseling, financial restitution, criminal records that would follow them forever. The divorce finalized shortly after. Uncontested, I kept the house, my savings, my retirement. Naomi left with nothing but consequences. Work didn't change much, except the respect did. A month later, my supervisor pulled me aside. "We want you leading your own crews," he said. "Foreman position, 20% raise." I accepted. Life settled back into rhythm. Early mornings, honest work, quiet evenings. One night, months later, an unknown number lit up my phone. It was Naomi. She said she was sorry, that she was wrong, that she wanted to talk. I read it once, then I deleted it and blocked the number. I sat on my back porch, watching the sun dip behind the trees. The house felt different now, lighter, like it belonged to me again. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. 8 months passed quietly, which was exactly how I wanted it. No headlines, no court dates, no voices demanding explanations. Just work, mornings that started before sunrise, and the steady comfort of routine returning to my life. By then, I was standing on a downtown construction site reviewing blueprints with a crew of 20 electricians spread across 3 active projects. The foreman promotion changed more than my paycheck. It changed how people looked at me. When problems came up, they came to me first. When management tried to rush timelines or trim safety measures, I pushed back. And they listened. Reputation matters in construction, and mine was solid. The house changed too. I repainted the living room. A criminal record closes doors quietly but permanently. No consulting firms, no executive tracks, no clean background checks. The same corporate world she traded everything for had no use for her anymore. I didn't follow her life. I didn't need to. One evening, after a long day on site, I sat on the back porch with a beer and watched the sky fade from orange to deep purple. My phone buzzed once. Unknown number. It was her. She said she knew I blocked her everywhere else. Said she just wanted to apologize. Said she finally understood how wrong she had been. Asked if we could talk just once. I stared at the message longer than I expected. Then I deleted it, blocked the number, and finished my drink. Not out of anger, out of certainty. Justice didn't come in the form of shouting matches or revenge fantasies. It came in paperwork, in evidence, in quiet decisions made at the right time. It came in rebuilding instead of reacting. I didn't win by destroying her. I won by refusing to be destroyed. The life I have now is steady, predictable in the best way. I wake up early. I lead people who trust me. I come home to a house that feels safe. I'm planning to adopt a dog. I'm thinking about the next project, about tacos on Friday night, about the future again. And that's the thing no one tells you. Surviving betrayal doesn't make you louder. It makes you clearer. In the end, I didn't escape the trap she set. I dismantled it, piece by piece, and I walked away with my life intact.